Have you ever broken the rules? And you say, yes. Have you ever hated your boss? Absolutely. And this is kind of the first level thing they can do to try and get the dirt on you. It can get more sophisticated, okay? But this is kind of the first line of attack they have. Saku says, break the rules by not answering the question. It actually doesn't work like that. It's not about yay or nay, yes or no. Did you answer the question, yes or no? It doesn't work like that. Humans speak. You can say other things than yes or no. You can give them an answer that's not what they were fishing for, but you still give them an answer. So you answer the question. You just don't fall into the ambush that the question was. That's the thing. There's a difference. If you're going to take the attitude that, you're going to ask somebody in an interview, tell me about the most recent time when you realized you were a terrible person. Tell me how that went. And if the person says anything other than the last time was, and then fill in the blank, if you interpret that as not answering the question simply because you didn't get an answer that you wanted, well, then you don't understand what a question is. That's the reality. This also, by the way, is a tactic that a lot of lower level recruiters will do, because it's a basic tactic where they do the thing where they almost don't accept your answer and they ask you the question again. So they say, tell me about, how bad of a person you are, right? And you say, well, actually, I don't really consider myself to be a bad person. I actually think I'm a pretty good person. I try and always do the right thing, and I try and follow the rules and be nice to everybody. And they say, no, I can see you're being hostile and uncooperative here. I said, when was the last time you realized you were a bad person? Answer the question. And this is where a lot of rookies, a lot of young people will crack. And they'll say, okay. And they think I have to say something different. Even though I gave my honest answers that that wasn't good enough in some way, I have to give them more. So now they start waffling, they start going off script, and then they're really pushed into giving the interviewer the answer that they were hoping you would say, so they can eliminate you. So you say, okay, I guess that isn't strictly true. I did do something a couple of weeks ago where I found a $100 bill on the ground, and I didn't immediately canvass anyone in the area and say, did anyone drop this? Instead, I kind of put it in my pocket, right? And I suppose I disgusted myself. I'm a terrible person. It'll never happen again. And they say, okay, thank you. That's what we were looking for. And they've eliminated you, right? What you do is you repeat your answer. If they ask you the same question again, you give the same answer again, only this time with a smile on your face. You say, okay, let's start at the beginning. They say, tell me how bad of a person you are. And you say, well, I don't consider myself a bad person. And they say, yeah, I understand that. But no, seriously, tell me how bad of a person you are. We need to know. And you say, well, like I just explained, when it comes to that, you see, I don't consider myself a bad person. So, I've never at any point realized that I'm a bad person because that's not how I see myself, and that's basically where I stand on that. You repeat your answer, right? You don't give ground and start changing your answer. That's something else that's a standard tactic. They'll ask you the same tough question twice as if your answer was not good enough. Try again. They do that a lot on the salary question, by the way. What's your salary expectation? Oh, I can't really say at this moment. It's too soon. It's like, yeah. No, I understand. I really do. But what's your salary expectation? And then you have to come up with something else. And it's like, well, like I said, it's kind of early in this process. I haven't really thought very deeply about this. I figured I'd see what you guys have to offer and learn a bit about the role first. There's a technique to that question in particular, but if you just repeat yourself, listen, sorry, I can't say. I could pull a number out of the air right now, but I'm sure that's not helpful to you guys. So, I would have to learn more about the role and maybe get back to you on that. Right? So don't get taken in by these cheap tactics. This is like the basics of how to put the screws to someone. And the reason why they keep doing these same basic things year after year after year, decade after decade, is because they work. Especially on younger people, on less experienced people. These work. It forces people to reveal all kinds of stuff about them that they would have never dreamed to say in the interview. So stick to your guns on this kind of stuff, because they're probably in all likelihood going to do this to you at some point. It's a common thing. Onion says, so basically answer like a politician and dance around the question. Well, considering if you did answer the question, you'd be eliminated. Yeah. Like the thing is, if I ask you a hostile question, I say, listen, I need to know your bank account number. So what is your bank account number? And then you say something and I say, oh, so you're just going to dance around the question like a politician, huh? Okay, fine. I can see what type of person you are. You're unhelpful. That's stupid. You know what I mean? If you ask a question of that nature that is clearly bad for someone to answer that honestly to you, right? You don't get to say, oh, well, you're acting like a politician. It's like, no, that's not what's going on. You're misreading what's happening. You're trying to get at me. You're trying to get me to reveal something that I, as a sentient human being who's not a slave, does not wish to reveal to you because it's disadvantageous to me. It's also inappropriate to ask me that. But that doesn't seem to stop you. So the fact that I'm not just giving you something because you ask it in this situation doesn't speak to me. That speaks to you. And I think most job seekers would come with me on this because in all likelihood, you've been asked inappropriate things before. You've been put on the spot. They do all they can to maximize the social awkwardness of it too. And it's a known tactic. It's something that, people have developed and worked on. This is what these people do for their living. They do job interviews. That's a big part of what being a recruiter is. And they've perfected their own technique.